Hello, Steve Conley here for It's About Belief. I just wrote this belief idea, and it says jumping timelines. So I'm sitting here just thinking about it. I'm thinking, wow, I need to make a video about that to explain a lot more about it because, in the belief ideas, I only have a very short amount of space, I think. I mean, I could write and write and write, but who would read them, you know? So when I send those out, they're pretty short, and I try to make them short on purpose. So jumping timelines, now, that is a fascinating topic, I think. And some people call it quantum jumping. Now, the thing about the jumping of timelines or quantum jumping is you don't have to learn how to do it. You're doing it all the time, every day, billions of times a second. And that's the mechanism that the universe uses to create the illusion of time and give us the experience that we have so that, as Einstein said, time was created so that everything wouldn't be happening all at one time. So even though that's really exactly what's happening, everything is happening at once. There's no such thing as time. But so from our perspective, there is time. So let's talk about jumping timelines and how you can do that to better affect your life. So you don't have to learn how to jump timelines, but what you do want to do is learn how to control or better direct the jumping of the timelines into the parallel realities that represent something that you prefer, okay? In other words, boil it down is you just want a better, happier, life, a more abundant life. And that can be anything, any kind of category that you want. Now, I do have to tell you that a lot of people don't recognize what's going on here with these jumping of the timelines. Now, I was fortunate enough to have an experience where I jumped like over a whole bunch of different, very similar universes to come out on another one that was still, relatively pretty similar, but significantly different enough that I could, with my two physical eyes, say, wow, what the heck happened here? Because things changed, a lot. The characters in the room and all that were still the same, but the attitudes all were different. And it was like shocking to me. Good shocking, don't get me wrong. So I was watching that, and then I didn't know what had happened. I didn't understand it. This was way before I could talk about it like I'm talking about it now. So how do you change your timelines, and what's the process, and what's the procedures? And there's several different ways. Now, one cool thing about it is, think about you're in the middle of a timeline. So you have your past, and you have your future, and you have your present right here. Okay? So think of yourself as the hub or the middle of a wheel with the spokes sticking out in all directions. And so you have your past, which you kind of view as one spoke. And then you have your future, which is going to line up with that past most likely. Now, it doesn't have to, but just because we have our beliefs that we've created from our thoughts that came from the observation of what was happening in front of us, which is things that we created anyway. So we created our thoughts from things that we saw, and we created those beliefs that create a new thought around that, and we kind of get into this, this circular motion, if you will. Repetitive belief, circular idea. Now, the idea is to step out of that a bit, because anything and everything is possible. Now, in that vein, so when you change something significantly in the spoke, you're not only going to change what happens in the future, you're going to change your past as well. So with that in mind, you can go back and directly change the past to change the present and the future, or you can just work on changing the present, which will in turn change the past and the future. You see what I mean? So you're kind of like pivoting on that spoke of the wheel. With the change of your thoughts, and those things will automatically change your beliefs, because now you're going to observe new physical manifestations that represent these new thoughts. So that sounded complicated. What the heck did I just say? I don't know. It doesn't matter. What matters is all you want to do is either visualize a different past, one that might be affecting your present, which will then in turn affect the future. So you might want to go back to your past situation or a series of events or an event and change that. Add your responses that might have been different than what you think you remember as your old past, and put love in there. Put a different response that you might have preferred you did, and a whole bunch of other things, whatever, more compassion, a better response, more, something that you might prefer that had a different outcome that you remember, or you think you remember from that particular timeline. So create that whole new different scene that better represents who you maybe want to be now. And just remember that as being your past. Simple, right? Simple, maybe complicated, I don't know. But don't make it hard. Just make it simple, make it fun, make it enjoyable. That's one way. Now, from this present perspective, to change or jump to different timelines or quantum jumping, change your idea of who you are right now. That might be tied to some things that happened in the past. It might not. Forget the past. You're just working in the now in this particular process. And so you create a new you by creating what you would be thinking, imagining, doing, what your processes are right now as the new you. So you let go of your old you and you put in place a new you. That's all timeline jumping, every bit of that. Just do that until you get really comfortable with it. Kind of pay attention to what's going on out there. We're working all inside on this. This is an inside job. All of it is. And then just check the reflections every now and then. Don't expect anything. Don't start looking for outcomes. Then you'll stump your toe and you'll get the wrong thing. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, stumping your toe thing, watch carefully those reflections that you see, those manifestations that happen on the outside, because they will tell you if you're on the right track or if you're not on the right track, or if you are stumping your toe. This past weekend, Saturday, I put a mirror, a big heavy mirror, accidentally on one of my toes, my left toe. And it hurt. It was kind of like stumping my toe. And then Saturday, on this new motorcycle that I manifested, I actually stumped my toe on the kickstand. Now, what is that about? I've got two stumped toes, basically. Where am I stumping my toe? I know exactly where it is. It's a physical representation of some things that I might be thinking that aren't quite right. So do that while you're working on your timeline jumping, okay? So I've just given you a couple processes for timeline jumping. I hope you really like this. I don't want to make it long and drawn out. It's about belief. Click on it. Hey, by the way, send this to your friends. You can go to itsaboutbelief.com. They can sign up for the belief ideas. You can sign up for belief ideas. I send them out kind of, sort of, mostly about 5 times a week. And you'll love it. See you then.